Outrage continues to trail the arraignment of 76 suspects, including 32 minors, before Justice Obiora Igwatu at the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court for participating in the hashtag End Bad Governance protest in August. They were arraigned by the Inspector General of Police on 10 counts, bordering on treason, intent to destabilize Nigeria, and inciting to mutiny by calling on the military to take over the government from President Bola Tinubu, among others. Justice Igwatu, in his judgment, declared that until they meet their bail terms, defendants who are 18 years and above should be remanded in the Kuje Custodial Center, while the minors, 18 years and below, be remanded in the Buster Center in Gwagwalada. Meanwhile, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Tinubu to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, to ensure the release of all hashtag End Bad Governance protesters, including the 32 hungry and malnourished children. SERAP added that if the president does not act on its recommendations within 48 hours, legal actions will be taken against him. Also, the National Human Rights Commission has condemned in its entirety the arraignment for treason of children and minors who allegedly participated in the recent nationwide hashtag End Bad Governance protests.
Thank you. I think I should lay background to this matter.
Yes.
The End Bad Governance protest that lasted from the 1st to the 10th of August 2024 was a nationwide action by Nigerians, particularly young people, who are fed up with the status quo and are demanding that government should change the direction that things are going. The economy is crumbling, inflation has gone very high, the purchasing power of the Nigerian people have been drastically reduced. So people are fed up, people are hungry, and that was what prompted people to come out to protest. Now, these persons that were arrested primarily between the 2nd of August. Some of them, I think 29th of July or so, but mostly on the 2nd of August. Mostly from Kaduna and Kanu. There are two sets of defendants. You have the 76 and you have the 43. Okay?
They are 130.
Yes. The minors are 32.
Okay.
Now, what has happened is that they were arrested and detained in different states, particularly Kanu and Kaduna, as I said, from the 2nd to about the 11th of August, when they were brought to Abuja. Now, when they were detained outside Abuja, to the best of our knowledge, the police did not even bother to get a remand order. So they had already detained them beyond the constitutional period. They now went to court seeking to legalize their illegality by obtaining a remand order to keep them. Now, when they got the remand order, the learned judge, Honorable Justice Nwite, ordered that they should be remanded in the custodial center. They took them to Kuje. Kuje rejected the minors. I need to put that on record. On the basis that by virtue of Section 35 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, juveniles or children, young offenders, cannot be detained in the conventional facility. They are supposed to be detained in juvenile centers or remand homes. Right now, they took, you know where they took them to? They took them to former SARS facility in Abuja. The same SARS that we are told has been abolished. They were not properly fed, as you can see from the video that we also at the Federal High Court. They were deprived of their fundamental rights. Now, on the basis of law, this should never have happened. This should never have happened. Because there is now a very duplicitous, very deceitful attempt to say that this is a government that, is trying to prosecute people who were involved in violence or whatever. But what we are seeing is that this has more to do with criminalization of protests. Now, you arrested these individuals, and you also took those that are also minors, and also detain them. And by virtue of Section 15 of the Child Rights Act, you cannot try a child in the conventional court. It has to be either the family court or the juvenile court. And you cannot also detain a child or minors where adults are supposed to be detained. In fact, even the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, Section 451, says that in the prosecution or trial of children or minors, that it shall be as provided for under the Child Rights Act. So what was the basis for taking these children before the Federal High Court? To remand them in a manner that has brought embarrassment to the entire country, and to the point that some of them had to basically be rushed to the hospital. And this is 3 months after they were arrested.
So they've been
for 3 months. For 3 months.
Not even an adult.
For 3 months.
3 months.
Before they collapsed at the Federal High Court. These minors have been kept in custody for the last 3 months, Dr. Batty. Not properly fed, not properly clothed, their welfare not catered for, some of their parents and relatives not even having knowledge of where they were kept. So it took a series of applications in court to even force them to file this charge. And look at the charge they are filing against them.
What do you recommend?
Several things must happen immediately. In the first place, yes, the Attorney General has said he's going to review the file. Was he not aware? Can the learned senior advocate of Nigeria, Fagbemi, tell Nigeria that he's not aware, that he did not know that this charge was going to be filed? Yes, the police has prosecutorial powers. But when did the Nigerian police start prosecuting treason? It is usually in the Ministry of Justice. But this has now become a joke. A joke. And you look at what are they talking about? That they were protesting, some of them were carrying Russian flag, all sort of ridiculous things. And you are saying that children, that some of them are 13, 14, 15, they wanted to overthrow President Tinubu. So the president is so terrified by children. President Tinubu is so terrified that children were going to overthrow him.
Nelson Mandela said something very important, and I want to bring us to that. He said, to judge a country, we don't judge a country by how we treat the highest citizens, but how we choose those who are vulnerable. Talking about this matter, you're asking me about what do I think about the lawyers and the judges in this regard. I want to state categorically here that both England and Nigeria have a law that consider minor under 10, if they commit any offense, to be apprehended. Now, we also have, under the Criminal Act, I'm not a lawyer, so I allow the lawyers to do most of the talking. Our organization, Dream Against Prison and Youth Organization, focus mostly on reformation, rehabilitation of people who are in detention or in correctional facility across Nigeria. Now, there is a law under the Criminal Code, Section 30, that states that minor under 7 cannot be considered as criminal, while minor under 7, or between 7 to 12, may be considered as criminal. Section 32 of that same act says that minor between 12 and 18 will be considered as criminal based on maturity. Now, the people we're talking about today, I 100% totally empathize with them, seeing them on TV. I also empathize with us as a nation. And most importantly, I empathize with the family. Now, I want to ask us this question. If they have been in custody for about 3 years, according to what Effiong has said, for 3 months, sorry, where have been the lawyers? Where have been our journalists, our media? What has happened with the parents? Were they not aware that their children were under detention? Because for most Nigerians, until these children were brought on air last week, in court, most people were not aware that these children were under detention for about 3 months, according to what Effiong said. And I understand that we can talk and talk because we want to talk. And most times, most of the talk we talk is basically to get social media, following, or to get social media pat on the shoulder. But are we really to really deal with this problem from the roots? We're talking about minors here who are supposed to be under the tutelage, the care of their parent. Now, I want to ask a question. They say they are from Kaduna and Kanu. What has the state governors from Kaduna and Kanu done for 76 children from Kanu and also 40-something children, as Effiong has mentioned, from Kaduna? What has the state government done? We can do all of the blame game. And this has been burning in my heart. And I want to say this to the president and to whosoever will become president in the future, to the governors and whosoever will become governors and all leaders. Listen, I want to say this, that as we campaign for elective position, we must go beyond telling people what we want to do for our country to change the country. We must begin to tell our citizens what they ought to be doing for the progress and the development of the country. No president can change this country. No governor can change his state. And we are carried away by what the president say or what the governors are saying during campaign.
There's a constitutional right to presumption of innocence. Section 36, subsection 5. They are all presumed innocent of whatever charges or allegations are thrown at them. So we need to have that in mind. Secondly,
Right to fair.
yes. Secondly, the Inspector General of Police who filed this charge, or in whose name this charge has been brought, is not saying that all of them were caught with Russian flags. It's only few of them from the proof of evidence from what they are alleging. So even those ones that they are alleging, they are yet to prove it. So, and thirdly, I don't want to go into whether Russian flag is, because the matter is now sub judice. All I can tell you, and I've made my personal feelings known, would the argument have been different? This is just for academic reason. Would the argument have been different if they were carrying a Rwandan flag, if they were carrying a Mexican flag, if they were carrying a British flag? Or what is spiritual or superficial about Russia and the Russian flag? Is it that the law gives special recognition to Russian flag? So they keep talking about Russian flag. In hotels in Nigeria, we see Russian flags. We see foreign flags. Even in churches, we see foreign flags. So what is the almighty thing about Russia and their flag? And in any event, what are we talking about? The constitutional right to freedom of expression, the constitutional right to peaceful assembly, as guaranteed by Section 39 and Section 40 of the Constitution, is not limited to adults. So you cannot say that because they are 13, if they are hungry, they must tie themselves to their home. They should not come out and say that they are hungry. They have the right to protest. What we are saying is that, assuming without considering, for argument's sake, that there is even a case, a prima facie case, or a probable case against these individuals, particularly the minors, what is the procedure under the law? How are you supposed to treat them? I started by saying that this is not about punishment for crime. The Tinubu regime or the Tinubu government has made up its mind that protest is going to be criminalized. It's not limited to these people that are on trial. Even in Lagos, you saw it during the anniversary of the NSAS. You saw what happened. You saw what is happening across the country. Anybody today that is carrying placard is seen to be trying to overthrow the president. And I'm asking, this is a president that we are told was active in Nadeko, that we are told fought the military. The fact that Tinubu is being threatened by 13-year-old is an embarrassment to Nigeria. That we have a president that children are frightening, that children are trying to overhaul. And you have the Inspector General of Police going to court to file this charge. So that is why it brings me to the next point. Few things have to happen quickly. Number one, the Attorney General, pursuant to his power under Section 174 of the Constitution, must enter and only prosecute, discontinue this charge immediately. The police officers who filed this charge, I must be forced to say, should be investigated. They should be made to answer some questions. Because what are we talking about? Just this morning, somebody called me from India. A prominent media organization in India is asking me to comment on the matter. All international media, they are seeing. And you're asking investors to come to Nigeria. And they are saying that in your children, that 13-year-old can overthrow the president. That you can take children to court, they are malnourished. What is the picture? What is the image? So what they are doing, forget about the church. What they are doing, they are telling you that the next time you are hungry, the next time you want to end bad governance and people are coming out to protest, don't join them. If you know the person we are talking about.
Who's this, Mr. J?
The first PR is not the one who made the comment. He's an entertainer to a large extent. Some of the comments he make on public issues, so he's trying to reduce the anger. I understand him. In fairness to him, Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are suffering. So sometimes he says these things to entertain the country, make this comic relief, to reduce the anger. But I'm saying that is not his role. We have basket mouths, we have all the other comedians, we have the skid makers, to do these things. He should not take over their role. He's supposed to be the spokesperson of the police. But when he keeps saying things like this, that they were faking it, that they were playing drama in the court, is he not seeing those children how malnourished they are? Can he allow his children to be in that condition? So when they come out to say these ridiculous things, they're embarrassing the country. So I am saying that the IG should redefine the role of the office of the police public relations officer.
While we were in court this morning, and shortly before the plea of the defendants, mainly underage children, could be taken, some of them who were looking quite malnourished, who were looking quite very sick, started snapping in court before the Honorable Justice Egwatu. Justice Egwatu, upon seeing the fainting of these young persons of school age, had to adjourn had to stand down proceedings abruptly. We had to rush some of these young children to the clinic within the facility of the court for them to be resuscitated. Some of them are still receiving treatment as I speak to you in the clinic. These young persons has been arrested since the 2nd day of August 2024. No food. Over 3 months. No food. They've been left without clothing, without housing, without proper care. They are looking very malnourished. As you can see the videos that are flying around social media.
You're informed that they are taking Gari only.
They were kept at the Kuje Correctional Center and at the IRT, the notorious IRT at SAS Abatua. At SAS Abatua. Now, this is the facility that has held our young children that are being kept by this government over allegations of attempting to overthrow the president. The question now comes to how can a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy who is looking very frail and malnourished attempt to overthrow the president? That is a matter for another day. But we have filed an application contesting and challenging the powers of the courts to try these young persons. And this objection is founded on very solid foundation. The Constitution of Nigeria in Section 18 vests on the government the responsibility of educating young persons. The Universal Basic Education Act and the Children and Young Persons Act vest upon the government the duty to educate its younger ones. Section 2 of the UBEC Act mandates the government to provide education for its young persons, free compulsory education for all young persons. Unfortunately, young Nigerians have been arraigned in court today on a 10-count charge of an attempt to overthrow and overhaul the government of Nigeria. They have been granted bail. We will strive hard to meet the bail conditions if we can. The conditions are quite neck-breaking. It is like giving bail with the right hand and taking with the left hand. We will strive and do our best to perfect these conditions. But if we cannot meet the bail conditions, we will come back to the courts and seek for a variation, because we have